relax, and learn. 10 short stories for English study. 1. A rainy day vibe. I woke up to the sound of rain tapping on my window. It was one of those cozy mornings when I just wanted to stay in bed. I grabbed my blanket and made a cup of hot chocolate. The warm steam filled the room, and the chocolate smell made me smile. I turned on my favorite calming playlist and let the soft beats wash over me. The rain outside created the perfect background music. I watched the raindrops race down the glass, each one a little adventure. I pulled out my sketchbook and started drawing. Each raindrop inspired me. The world outside felt calm and peaceful. I added colors to my drawing, mixing blues and greens. I let my imagination flow, creating a rainy landscape filled with cozy houses and blooming flowers. I imagined the soft sound of laughter from children playing in puddles. With every sip of my hot chocolate and every note from the music, I felt happier. Rainy days are perfect for creativity, don't you think? I took a moment to appreciate the simple joy of being indoors, while the world outside was wet and gray. As I finished my drawing, I realized that this day, with its rain and music, was a special gift. I couldn't wait to do it again. There is something magical about rainy days that makes me feel alive. 2. Evening study session. It was a quiet evening, and I had a pile of books in front of me. I needed to study, but my mind was wandering. To help me focus, I decided to play some gentle music. As the soft sounds filled the room, I opened my textbook and started reading. The music helped me relax. I could feel the stress from the week melting away. I wrote notes while the peaceful tunes played. The melodies kept me motivated, and I felt like I was in a cozy cafe rather than at home. I glanced outside and saw the sunset. The sky turned orange and pink, creating a beautiful view. I took a moment to appreciate the colors. Studying didn't feel boring anymore. I was in my own world, with music and knowledge. As I continued to read, I imagined what it would be like to study in a library filled with tall bookshelves. By the end of the night, I had learned so much and felt proud of myself. The calming music made studying enjoyable. I'll definitely do this again. The mix of soft sounds and learning created a perfect atmosphere for my evening. I even finished early and had time to enjoy a little treat before bed. 3. Cozy coffee shop. Today, I found a little coffee shop that looked so cozy. The moment I walked in, I felt warm. The smell of coffee and fresh pastries filled the air. I ordered a cappuccino and chose a corner seat by the window. I opened my laptop and put on some relaxing music. The sounds created a nice atmosphere. Outside, people walked by with umbrellas, hurrying to avoid the rain. It was another rainy day, and I loved the cozy feeling inside the cafe. As I sipped my coffee, I noticed a couple sitting nearby, sharing stories and laughing. It made me feel happy. I began to write in my journal, inspired by the energy around me. The barista played soft tunes while making drinks, and the sound of cups clinking added to the ambiance. I watched her create beautiful latte art, swirls of milk forming shapes on top of the coffee. It was a peaceful moment, a perfect mix of coffee, music, and creativity. I felt grateful for this little escape from the world outside. I could spend all day here, enjoying life one sip at a time. The coffee shop was not just a place to get a drink. It was a place to relax, think, and let my imagination soar. I left feeling inspired, my heart warm and full. 4. Starlit night walk. Last night, I decided to take a walk under the stars. The air was cool, and the sky was clear. I put on my headphones and started my favorite playlist. The soft beats accompanied me as I strolled through the quiet streets. I looked up at the stars, sparkling like diamonds in the night sky. Each one seemed to tell a story, reminding me of adventures and dreams. The music made me feel peaceful, and I started to think about my goals. What do I want to achieve? What makes me truly happy? I walked by a park and sat on a bench. The sounds of the city were distant, and all I could hear was a soft music in my ears. I closed my eyes and let my thoughts wander. I imagined my future, filled with possibilities and excitement. The night was a reminder to take things one step at a time. With every note, I felt lighter, as if the weight of my worries was lifted. I realized that it's okay to have worries. They are part of life. After a while, I got up and continued my walk, feeling refreshed and inspired by the beauty of the night sky. The stars and music were my companions, guiding me through the peaceful streets. I returned home, ready to dream big and embrace the adventures that awaited me. 5. Morning routine. Every morning, I have a special routine. I wake up early, make my bed, and prepare a warm breakfast. After that, I sit down with my favorite cup of tea, a comforting start to my day. To start the day right, I play some soft music. The gentle sounds help me wake up slowly. I take a moment to enjoy the music while eating my breakfast. Each sip of tea warms me, and I can feel my energy returning. I look out the window and watch the world come alive. Birds sing, and the sun starts to rise, casting golden light across the trees. Everything feels calm and fresh. It's my time to relax before a busy day. Once I finish eating, I write in my journal. I jot down my thoughts, plans for the day, and things I am grateful for. Writing helps me organize my mind and set my intentions. With the music playing softly and my mind clear, I feel ready to take on whatever comes my way. This routine is my secret to happiness. I know that no matter how hectic the day may be, I can always find peace in my morning rituals. 6. Weekend relaxation. Weekends are my favorite time to relax. After a long week, I look forward to unwinding and enjoying my free time. Today, I decided to spend my Saturday at home, recharging my batteries. I made a cozy space on my couch with pillows and blankets. I brewed a cup of herbal tea and turned on my soothing playlist. The calming sounds filled the room, wrapping me in comfort. I picked up a book I had wanted to read for a long time. As I sank into the cushions, I lost myself in the story. The music in the book made me feel like I was in another world, where adventures awaited me. Occasionally, I would close my eyes and listen to the melodies. They seemed to match the mood of the story, making the experience even more enjoyable. After a while, I took a break and stared out the window. The sun was shining, and the trees danced in the breeze. I felt grateful for this peaceful moment. I cherished weekends like this because they recharge my spirit and remind me to slow down. As the day turned into night, I reflected on how important it is to take time for myself. I felt refreshed and ready to face the upcoming week with a smile. 7. Creative art session. Today, I felt inspired to create art. I gathered my paints, brushes, and a blank canvas. I set up in my room, excited to bring my imagination to life. To get in the mood, I played some soft music. The gentle beats made me feel calm and focused. I mixed colors and started painting, allowing my feelings to guide my hand. At first, I didn't know what to create. But as the music played, ideas began to flow. I painted swirls of colors that danced together, like the sounds around me. Each brushstroke felt like a dance, a connection to my inner self. Time passed quickly as I lost myself in the art. I felt inspired by my emotions and the beauty of the music. I took breaks to appreciate my work, smiling at the colors that brought joy to my heart. When I finished, I stepped back to admire my creation. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine, a reflection of my feelings. The calming music had helped me find my creative side. I can't wait to do this again. Art, music, and a splash of creativity can transform an ordinary day into something extraordinary. 8. Chilling at home. After a long week, I love to chill at home. Today, I decided to have a self-care day, a time to focus on my well-being. I lit some scented candles and made my space cozy, filling the air with calming fragrances. I played some relaxing music, letting the soft sounds fill the room, creating a peaceful vibe. I decided to take a warm bath, so I filled the tub and added some bubble bath, watching the bubbles rise and pop. As I soaked, I listened to the music and let my worries fade away. The water was warm, and the bubblies felt soft against my skin. It was a moment of pure bliss, a chance to relax and unwind. After my bath, I wrapped myself in a fluffy towel and made a light snack. I sat on the couch with my snack, feeling relaxed and content. I took a moment to appreciate the little things in life. The music, the candles, and my cozy home made me feel happy. This day was a reminder of the importance of self-care. I realized that taking time for myself helps me recharge for the challenges ahead. 9. Late night thoughts. It was a quiet night, and I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, with thoughts racing through my mind. I decided to get up and go to my favorite spot in the house, the balcony. I took my blanket and sat outside, looking at the stars. The cool breeze felt refreshing. I put on my headphones and played some soft music, letting the melodies wash over me. As I listened, I thought about my day. What did I accomplish? What do I want to change? The music helped me think clearly, creating a space for reflection. I felt a sense of calm wash over me. The world seemed peaceful at night. I took deep breaths and closed my eyes, feeling the rhythm of the music resonate within me. With each note, I felt lighter. I realized that it's okay to have worries. They are part of life. The night was a reminder to take things one step at a time, to embrace each moment with an open heart. 10. Nature's beauty. Today, I decided to spend the day in nature. I packed a small backpack with snacks, my sketchbook, and a bottle of water. I wanted to draw the beauty around me and immerse myself in the outdoors. As I walked through the park, I played some calming music. The gentle sounds mixed with the rustling leaves and birds chirping. It felt like a perfect harmony, connecting me to the world around me. I found a nice spot under a big tree and sat down. I took out my sketchbook and began to draw the tree's branches, the sunlight filtering through the leaves. The music helped me focus, inspiring me to capture the moment on paper. Time flew by as I got lost in my art. I felt inspired by nature, each detail calling out to me to be painted. After finishing my drawing, I closed my eyes and listened to the sounds around me. The rustling leaves and distant laughter filled the air. This day reminded me of the beauty of the world. Nature, music, and art come together to create magic. I left feeling refreshed and grateful for the experience, promising myself to spend more time in nature. 11. A letter never sent. In my desk drawer, there's an old letter, yellowed with age, one I wrote but never had the courage to send. It was for someone special, someone who filled my thoughts day and night. I remember the day I wrote it. The rain tapped gently on my window as I poured my heart onto the page, each word a quiet confession of feelings that had built up like a gentle tide. Every now and then, I take it out, tracing my fingers over the words, remembering the emotions I felt at the time. I had wanted to tell them how much they meant to me, how their laughter could brighten my darkest days. But fear held me back. Fear of rejection. Fear of changing our friendship. So, the letter remained unsent, a delicate reminder of what could have been. It feels strange to hold it, both comforting and painful. The thought lingers. Would they have felt the same? Or was it better left unsaid? I close the drawer, knowing I may never find out. 12. The reunion. Years drifted by like leaves caught in a gentle breeze until we found ourselves at a cafe, an old haunt from our youth. The moment I saw them, it felt like time folded back on itself. We shared hesitant smiles, the kind that held stories untold. I took a deep breath, the scent of coffee wafting in the air, comforting and familiar. The conversation started awkwardly, with small talk about jobs and travels, but soon laughter filled the space. We reminisced about silly adventures and late-night talks that felt so significant back then. It was a dance of words, light and airy, as we skirted around the heavier emotions of our past. Yet, there was an unspoken understanding that lingered between us. The moments we shared defined us, even if we had changed. As we parted, I felt a warmth in my heart. A reminder that some connections are meant to last, no matter how much time passes. 13. Late-night conversations. Late-night conversations were our secret ritual. The world outside faded away as we lost ourselves in talks that stretched into the early hours of the morning. I can still hear the soft hum of the city at night, the distant sounds of laughter, and the occasional car passing by, all blending into a soothing background melody. We spoke about dreams, fears, and the little things that made us laugh. Sometimes it was deep, philosophical discussions about life, while other times it was sharing the silliest moments from our day. Those hours felt timeless, like we were in a bubble that separated us from the chaos outside. Now, as I lay awake at night, the silence feels louder without those conversations. I miss the way we could dive into topics for hours, sharing thoughts that only the night could hold. I think of picking up the phone, but it feels different now. I wonder if we could still share those moments, or if the magic of those late nights has slipped away with time. 14. The first glance. It's amazing how a single glance can shift your entire world. I remember the first time I saw them. Across a crowded room, our eyes met for just a brief moment, yet it felt electric. My heart raced as if it recognized something that my mind couldn't quite grasp. Everything around us blurred, and in that instant, it was just the two of us. I often replay that moment in my mind, the mix of excitement and fear swirling together. I wanted to walk over, to say something witty or charming, but my feet felt glued to the ground. Instead, I smiled shyly, and they returned the gesture, their expression holding a hint of curiosity. We didn't speak that day, but I left with a feeling that was hard to shake, a sense of possibility. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself wondering about them constantly. What if I had approached them? What stories would we have shared? Sometimes, I still hope our paths will cross again, and this time, I'll find the courage to take that first step. 15. The farewell. The train station buzzed with life, but my world felt still. I stood there, heart heavy, as I watched them prepare to leave. Goodbyes have a way of making everything seem so final. I tried to smile, to hide the lump in my throat, but inside, a storm of emotions raged. We exchanged awkward jokes, trying to lighten the mood, but the weight of the moment lingered. I wished I could capture it, hold on to our shared laughter, our memories, the way we understood each other without words. As the train pulled in, I felt a mix of pride and sadness. They were off to chase their dreams, and I was happy for them, yet I couldn't shake the feeling of loss. The hug we shared was long, a silent acknowledgement of everything we couldn't say. When they stepped onto the train, I felt a part of me go with them. I stood there, watching the train disappear, wishing for just a little more time, another moment to say all the things left unsaid. As the station grew quieter, I realized that goodbyes can be bittersweet, filled with love and hope, even in their sadness. 16. A chance encounter. It was a typical day when I saw them again, a chance encounter that sent my heart racing. I was lost in thought, walking down the street when I caught a glimpse of a familiar face. There they were, standing by a bookshop, looking just as I remembered. My breath caught in my throat, and for a moment, I hesitated. What would I say? How would I bridge the gap of time that had passed? But as I approached, they turned and smiled, and suddenly it felt like no time had passed at all. We exchanged polite greetings, the conversation flowing like a gentle stream. But beneath the surface, unspoken emotions lingered. I could feel the weight of our history hanging in the air, the unsaid words dancing just out of reach. As we parted ways, I felt a flutter of hope. Perhaps it was a sign, a reminder that connections can linger in the background, waiting for the right moment to bloom again. I walked away, a smile on my face, thinking about the possibilities that lay ahead. 17. The longing. Late at night, as I sit in the quiet of my room, I often find myself thinking about them. It's a soft, gentle kind of longing, a wistful ache that creeps into my thoughts when the world is still. I can picture their smile, the way their eyes lit up when they talked about something they loved. Those memories bring warmth to my heart, even as I wish for more. I scroll through old messages, rereading conversations that made me laugh and smile. Each message is a thread connecting me to moments shared, laughter exchanged, and dreams discussed. But it's those small things, their favorite song, the way they made my coffee just right, that linger with me the most. Sometimes I wonder if they feel the same way, or if life has pulled them in a different direction. I close my eyes and imagine a different path where we would still be together, sharing those quiet moments and silly jokes. It's a comforting thought, but reality reminds me that sometimes people drift apart. Still, I hold on to those memories, knowing they'll always be a part of me. 18. The art class. Deciding to take an art class was a spontaneous choice, something I never thought I would do. The room was filled with sunlight, casting a warm glow over the easels and paints. As I looked around, I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. I had always admired art, but never considered myself an artist. The instructor was kind, guiding us through the basics and encouraging us to express ourselves. I picked up the brush, my hand trembling slightly, and began to paint. At first, my strokes were hesitant, but as I lost myself in the colors, I felt a sense of freedom. Each brushstroke felt like an extension of my emotions, a way to share my heart without words. By the end of the class, I stood back to admire my work, a landscape of soft blues and greens. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine, a piece of my soul captured on canvas. I left the class feeling lighter, realizing that creativity can be a beautiful outlet for emotions, allowing us to express what we often can't say. 19. The long-distance call. Months passed since I last heard from my best friend, and I often found myself staring at my phone, debating whether to reach out. Finally, one evening, I took a deep breath and dialed their number. As the phone rang, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. Would they even remember me? When they picked up, it was like a wave of warmth washed over me. Their voice was familiar and comforting, instantly bringing back memories of laughter and shared secrets. We talked for hours, catching up on life, sharing stories about our new adventures, and reminiscing about old times. The distance faded as we laughed together, reminiscing about silly moments that felt so significant. I realized that true friendship isn't defined by proximity, but by connection. By the end of the call, I felt a sense of relief and joy, knowing that even though we were miles apart, our bond remained strong. I promised to call more often, eager to keep the warmth of our friendship alive. 20. The promise. In the quiet moments before sleep, I often think about the promise we made long ago. We were sitting on a park bench, watching the world go by, when we swore to always be there for each other, no matter what. Life seemed simple then, full of dreams and laughter. But as time passed, life pulled us in different directions. I remember the warmth of their hand in mine as we made that promise, the sincerity in their eyes. Even as we drifted apart, I held on to that moment, hoping they would remember too. Sometimes, I write them little notes, reminders of our shared dreams and the laughter we once had. I keep them tucked away, like treasures, waiting for the day we would reunite. When I finally see them again, I'll remind them of that promise. We'll laugh about how life got in the way, but I know that bond will always be there, waiting to be rekindled. Until then, I'll cherish the memories, believing in the power of that promise, and hoping to create new ones. 21. The song on repeat. I heard our song today, the one we used to play on repeat during those lazy afternoons. It started softly, the familiar melody drifting through the air, and before I knew it, memories of us came flooding back. I closed my eyes, letting the music carry me away to those moments when everything felt so simple, when we had no plans, no expectations, just the sound of that song and the comfort of each other's presence. I wondered if they ever heard the song too. Did it bring back the same memories for them? Maybe somewhere, they were smiling as they remembered those carefree afternoons, just like I was now. Funny how a simple melody can make you feel so much, even after all this time. 22. A cup of tea. There's something about the way they made tea. It was never rushed, always with a certain care. They would wait for the water to be just right, then gently pour it over the tea leaves. The aroma would fill the room, and we would sit in comfortable silence, sipping slowly, enjoying the quiet. I often think about those moments now. I make tea the same way, hoping it will bring back a little of the peace I felt when we were together. It's strange how something as small as a cup of tea can hold so much meaning. Every time I drink it, I feel like they're still with me, even though they're far away now. 23. The handwritten note. I found a note they left me years ago, tucked inside an old book I hadn't opened in ages. The handwriting was familiar, neat but hurried, as if they wrote it quickly before I could notice. It was just a small message, a reminder that they were thinking of me, even when I wasn't around. It made me smile, the way their words brought back the feeling of being cared for. I wondered if they still wrote notes like that for someone else now. The thought made me a little sad, but also happy, knowing that somewhere out there, someone else was receiving those small, thoughtful reminders of love. 24. Watching the rain. We used to sit by the window and watch the rain together. There was something soothing about it. The way the raindrops danced on the glass. The soft sound they made as they fell. We never said much during those moments. Just sat quietly, lost in our thoughts. I find myself doing the same thing now, sitting by the window when it rains, thinking about them. It's like the rain has a way of bringing back memories, of making me remember the peacefulness we shared. Even though they're not here, it still feels like they're with me, sitting beside me, watching the rain. 25. The missed call. I saw a missed call from them on my phone today. It was just a single ring, probably a pocket dial or a mistake. But seeing their name on my screen sent a jolt through me, a reminder of how long it's been since we last spoke. I stared at the phone for a while, debating whether to call them back. In the end, I didn't. I wasn't sure what I would say, or if they even meant to call. But for a moment, it felt like we were connected again, even if it was just by accident. It was a strange feeling, one that stayed with me long after the missed call had disappeared from my phone. 26. The silent apology. There was so much I never said, so many things left unspoken between us. We never had that final conversation, the one where we cleared the air, where we said what needed to be said. Now, I carry those unsaid words with me, like a weight on my chest. Sometimes, I think about writing it all down, a letter I'll never send, just to get the words out. But even that feels too final. Instead, I imagine them hearing my silent apology, feeling the regret I carry for not being braver, for not saying what was in my heart when it mattered. Maybe one day, I'll find a way to say it. 27. The picture frame. There's a photo of us on my desk, framed in wood, sitting next to my lamp. It's one of the few things I've kept from that time in my life. In the picture, we're laughing, arms around each other, carefree and happy. Every time I look at it, I'm reminded of how good things were. But it's also bittersweet. The photo captures a moment that's frozen in time, a version of us that no longer exists. I wonder what they would think if they knew I still had it. Would they smile, remembering that day like I do? Or would it just be another memory they've moved on from? 28. The unspoken goodbye. We never really said goodbye. It just happened slowly, like a fading sunset, until one day we were no longer in each other's lives. There were no final words, no closure, just silence. At first, I kept waiting for them to call, for things to go back to the way they were. But that call never came. Now, I look back and realize that sometimes goodbyes happen quietly. We don't always get the chance to say what we need to, and that's okay. The important things, the love and memories we shared, don't disappear just because we didn't say goodbye. 29. The journal entry. I was going through an old journal today and found a page where I had written about them. It was a simple entry. Nothing dramatic, just a few lines about a conversation we had, how their words had made me feel. I had forgotten about that moment, but reading it brought everything back. It's funny how a few words scribbled in a journal can hold so much power. How they can bring you back to a time and place you hadn't thought about in years. I smiled as I closed the journal, grateful for the memory, even if it was from a chapter that had long since ended. 30. A walk through the park. We used to take walks together, wandering through the park without a destination in mind. It was always quiet, just the sound of our footsteps and the occasional bird singing. We didn't need to talk much during those walks. Just being with each other was enough. I walked through that same park today, alone this time. The path was the same, the trees still standing tall, but it felt different. I missed their presence beside me, the way their hand would occasionally brush against mine as we walked. It's strange how a place can hold so many memories, even when the person you shared it with is no longer there. 31. The Lost Book. I lent them my favorite book once, a dog-eared copy I had read countless times. It was a simple gesture, a way of sharing something that meant a lot to me. I never got it back, though, and over time, I forgot about it. But every now and then, I think about that book, wondering if they ever read it. Did they love it the way I did? Or did it end up forgotten on a shelf somewhere? It's a small thing, really. But sometimes, those small things stick with you. 32. The Old Message. Scrolling through my phone, I stumbled upon an old message from them. It was from a time when things were good, filled with laughter and plans for the future. Seeing it made me pause, my finger hovering over the delete button. But I couldn't bring myself to erase it. Instead, I read through the message, feeling a pang of nostalgia. It was strange, how a few words on a screen could bring back so much emotion. I knew I should move on, let go. But part of me wanted to keep that message, to hold on to the connection we once had. 33. The Candlelight Dinner. One evening, we had a candlelight dinner, just the two of us, the room softly lit by the flickering flames. It wasn't a fancy meal, but it felt special. We talked for hours, our faces bathed in the warm glow of the candles, sharing stories and dreams like we always did. I still light candles sometimes, just to recreate that feeling. It's not the same without them. But the soft light and the quiet remind me of that night, of the connection we shared. Some memories are like that. Small, simple, but they stay with you long after the moment has passed. 34. The Gift Left Behind. They gave me a gift once, something small and thoughtful. It wasn't expensive or flashy, just a little token of affection. But it meant the world to me. After we drifted apart, I kept it tucked away in a drawer, unsure of what to do with it. Every now and then, I come across it, and I'm reminded of the time when we were close, when small gestures like that were enough to show how much we cared for each other. I can't bring myself to throw it away, even though it's from a chapter of my life that's long since closed. 35. The Missed Opportunity. There was a moment when I could have said something, could have told them how I felt, but I hesitated, unsure of their feelings, afraid of changing the dynamic between us. So I stayed silent, letting the moment pass. And now, looking back, I wonder what might have been if I had been braver. It's a regret I carry with me, the missed opportunity to be honest, to take a chance on love. I'll never know what could have happened, but I've learned that sometimes it's better to speak up, even if the outcome is uncertain. 36. The long drive. We once took a long drive together, no destination in mind, just the open road and the promise of adventure. We played music, talked about everything and nothing, and watched the scenery pass by. It was one of those perfect days where time seemed to slow down, and all that mattered was the journey. I still think about that drive sometimes, how free we felt, how close we were. It's been a long time since I've taken a drive like that, but the memory stays with me. A reminder of the joy of simply being together without a care in the world. 37. The faded photograph. There's a faded photograph of us in my wallet, worn at the edges from years of being carried around. It's a little blurry, the colors not as vibrant as they once were, but it's one of my favorite pictures. It captures a moment of pure happiness, a snapshot of a time when we were inseparable. Every now and then I take it out and look at it, remembering the person I used to be, the person they used to be. Time has changed us both, but that photograph will always be a reminder of the bond we shared, even if it's faded with time. 38. The midnight conversation. There was a night we stayed up talking until the early hours of the morning, the world outside quiet and still. We talked about everything, our fears, our hopes, our dreams, and I felt closer to them in those hours than I ever had before. It was like the rest of the world didn't exist, just us and our words, filling the space between us. I miss those conversations, the way we could talk about anything and everything. Now, in the quiet of the night, I sometimes imagine what it would be like to have one more conversation like that, to hear their voice again, to share our thoughts under the cover of darkness. 39. The forgotten anniversary. There was a date that used to mean everything to me, an anniversary of sorts, though not in the traditional sense. It marked the day we met, the day our lives intersected. I used to remember it every year, quietly acknowledging it in my own way, even after we drifted apart. This year, I almost forgot. It wasn't until late in the day that I realized what the date was, and it caught me off guard. It made me wonder if they still remembered, or if that day had lost its meaning for them a long time ago. 40. The final letter. I wrote them a letter once, but I never sent it. It was a letter filled with all the things I wanted to say but couldn't, a way of putting my feelings into words, even if they would never read them. I kept it in a drawer, tucked away with other mementos of our time together. Every now and then, I think about that letter, wondering what would have happened if I had sent it. Would things have turned out differently? Or would it have been just another goodbye, written on paper instead of spoken aloud? I'll never know. But the letter remains, a silent reminder of the words I never said.